interspersion. Have you ever seen anything more useless at cooking porridge with? This, stirring porridge. Absolutely useless. You can't serve it. All it does is just stir it around. I think it's some sort of terrible wood turners tourist gimmick. You know, the wood turners and Association of Scotland have all got together and said, let's make this the heritage symbol of rubbish. This is a wooden spoon. This is what you use. And then you write on it, porridge, so that your wife, partner, friend doesn't use it for anything else. And on the back you write stir clockwise. Okay? So make sure you get that on the spoon. Because if you stir it the other way, with your shins, oof, anything like that. I soaked my oats in a ceremony of great dignity. And this involved taking a top secret mixture, I can't reveal it to you, of pinhead oatmeal and medium grade oatmeal and soaking it in warm water the night before. Okay? And that's done, and I did this with Highland spring water. I thought I might as well try and beat them at their game. So instead of using Evian, which is what I really thought I'd take, I might get more points if I used Highland spring water. And actually, a softish water does suit porridge. I personally heaven knows what I know about it, but I think it does tend to suit porridge. I then left it to sit overnight with the warm water, came back, muttered some incantations and so on, and that's what I took to the ceremony, to the event the next day. Not everybody did this. In fact, most people didn't do that. And then what I did was that I took my water from this bottle and I started to, what I wanted to do was to boil the water first. So here I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. Run out. Have to use some London tap water. Oh, here we go. No, just a bit of tension there. We could use old pulp in here instead. Okay, so there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now why have I done that? Well, that's because I put 5 of those in my, that's 5 measures of my secret mixture of oatmeal. And as we discussed before, the reason that I'm using oatmeal is because I have no choice. I'm not allowed to use oat flakes in the competition. This is the traditional grain this is the traditional way of preparing oats that would have been used in Scotland way before they'd have ever discovered, as we discussed, oat flakes. So the pinhead is the oat groat cut 3 times, and the medium grade is the groat, or indeed the pinhead oatmeal, milled. So that's been through, in effect, dry rollers without any steaming to create medium. You can then go to fine, like a flour. You can go to coarse, and you go to pinhead. Making porridge with fine oatmeal is disgusting. You can try it. I think it's absolutely filthy. Make it with coarse, it's not bad. Make it with pinhead, I mean, you must really have thicker hair shirt than I've got, because it's a really an acquired taste. And if you cook it with pinhead, and you don't cook it for long enough, it's like biting into pebbles. Okay, I mean, it's a mouth of rocks. So what I'm going to use here is this mixture of these two to make what I think is the most important good texture of bite and smoothness. Now this has got no salt in, it's just got warm water, and I prepared this at 8 o'clock this morning and left it. Just when, if you're really hardcore, what you would do is you put a spoonful of live yogurt in, and that would then help to help break down and prepare the oats for you to digest. So I haven't done that because it makes a rather acquired taste, quite frankly. Now I'm going to add the salt. There's no ceremony to this. Anybody who thinks there's any ceremony of adding salt is just talking old tosh. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to try with 4 as well. I'll leave it. So that's the finer flake salt from Hallam. I've tried their coarse salt. I've tried rock salt, which is like having grit in your teeth because it takes forever to break down. This dissipates into the porridge very quickly at any stage in the cooking process. When you start the process of cooking, particularly pinhead and medium grade oatmeal, it looks absolutely ghastly. It looks as though you really got too much water. It looks like the worst sort of gruel type soup. But this very quickly changes. And what you want to do here, in the competition what I did, is that I actually brought this up to the boil and then put the lid on and then turned it right down. And I'd worked out that I could cook it in 3 minutes, which meant actually there was no theatre. They probably marked me down for being such a smart ass and getting it done so quickly. So what you want to do here is to bring this up to a simmer, and as it does so, it starts to thicken. And as you can see, I'm always going clockwise and anti-clockwise. And I'm not really doing anything here apart from hoping that the induction hob doesn't set fire to this, because what I'm wanting here is for this to boil and then to simmer. And really, the science of this is that you've already pre-soaked it, so you're halfway to, in effect, preparing it for cooking, rather than laboriously having to cook this for 20 minutes. It's where this has got a bad press in the past, it takes so long to cook, and it's an acquired taste. Now you'll notice I haven't used anything dairy yet in this. I personally think that oatmeal hates milk in the cooking process. I think that if you cook oatmeal with milk, it's disgusting. And that's now because I've become more Scots than Scottish, you see. So I think the only way I'm going to win next year is if I wear a kilt and I adopt a Scottish accent and I grow lots of facial hair and stirring it, but I'm not going to use a spurtle. And what I think is absolutely important here is that you begin to discover, as Mark did when I cooked for him in October, the fact that porridge made, in effect, with water and oats only is delicious. And why do I think it's so much better than flakes with milk? I just think it's got a beautiful texture that you can then enhance with lashing with a raw double cream and or butter. Now, it's also much better for you in the sense that this hasn't been twice cooked. And what I wanted to do is that I wanted to thicken to the consistency that I can in effect, if I was an legislator, what would I say? I would say, pour off the spoon in unctuous smoothness or something. So what I'm looking for is something that's not thick and sort of ready to cut with a knife. Neither am I looking for something that is so thin that it reminds you of school gruel. And that takes a lot of practice. And before I went to the World Porridge Championships, I do have to admit I cooked oatmeal about 3 times in my life. And I got to the final and I was the English champion because the only other people in the room with me were these Scotsmen. Now what we did this year with Mark was that we made a cup, which you see behind me, and what's going to happen after I finish doing this, perhaps I can let you talk amongst yourself, is that Mark's going to show you how to make caramel, which we used in our speciality recipe to provide a sort of caramel chocolate mix for the porridge. So that's coming on quite nicely. Now I'm going to taste it now with salt. Are there any questions?
If you soak the full groats for a really long time, can you make porridge?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And that's absolutely the only way I would eat groats, quite frankly. So what I'm doing at the moment is that I'm developing an oatmeal recipe by varying the amount of pinhead in a medium mix. And interestingly enough, if you buy and use coarse oatmeal, it doesn't do the trick. You actually need a mixture of 2 contrary, because don't forget the pinhead is not milled. That makes sense. So what I want to do is, instead of having a milled grain, I want a cut grain and a milled grain together. A bit like, in many ways, we learned with our daily oats, is that you're taking a jumbo flake and you're taking a porridge flake and getting a nice contrast between the two. Plate here. Lovely. And then that can go to the first with some salted caramel on that.
There you go. Now this is a little bit hot though, so hopefully whether it dahlias just do a little bit more than that. Come on, there you go. If you want more, then of course you can. Do you want some more? Yeah, come on. Just tip it in. There you go. Fantastic. You're very welcome.